So, hi everyone. Thanks again for joining us today, and thank you, Olu, for speaking. As I mentioned, it's always great to have you. So let's just get right into it. I'm just going to give you a quick introduction, then we'll get into our conversation. So,
Mhm.
Olutoyin is the founding partner and CEO at InVcap Corporation, an investment advisory firm with partners in Nigeria and Canada. InVcap is also lead investor at Entrepreneurs Point, a co-work incubator in Canada. Olutoyin's experience in the investment sector spans over 23 years, and she has managed Intercontinental Group Fund portfolio of over 8 billion and rose to become group treasurer in 2006. Olutoyin now supervises InVcap's investment strategy. In the nonprofit sector, Olutoyin serves as an advisor with the African Expert Network, a Washington, D.C. group of investment experts drawn from the global financial sector to advise investors on Africa. So I know that was kind of a quick intro here because I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to get into the conversation. So today's topic is controllers collaborating for business recovery. So to jump right into it, I guess the first question for you is, how can controllers help support small businesses in their recovery?
Thank you so much. Let me start by saying thank you so much for having me, Alex, and the team at the Controllers Conference. It's good to always join you at the sessions and to
Hmm.
share some insights, right? Okay, so controllers helping for the recovery. There are several ways. There are many things to look forward to. I mean, as you can imagine, this has really been very tough, particularly for small businesses. I mean, I know for a lot of businesses, for everyone, because this was not even envisaged by anyone, right? So, I'd like to speak as a small business owner, practitioner, working with a lot of businesses and
Hmm.
incubators, and what we can really look forward to. So today I'm actually going to speak as a small business for, and I believe that for controllers in that role, it's regularly. I mean, it's the norm to see controllers as strategic, as not usually strategic to the formation of decisions and so on, when it comes to business development and things like that. But in this era of recovery, it's something that we'll look forward to see how controllers can be more supportive in terms of idea generation, idea creation, or at least bringing those ideas to board, even for small businesses. And why do I say this? Ordinarily, the traditional approach from their traditional role of controllers, they've always been like, like gatekeepers, people who watch out for the errors, picking up the mistakes, making sure that compliance issues are clearly stated and that people comply with the regulatory requirements, and that businesses, the ones running their businesses are doing it in compliance with laid down rules and things like that. In an era of recovery, small businesses, for instance, um, we would expect that controllers are more not only supportive, but that even the ideas that are coming out now to help businesses recover lost grounds, to make income generation and things like that. We would expect that controllers will get the buy-in of those controllers. We'll get the buy-in, the understanding, the reasoning behind some of the deals that need to be done to fully recover the business. At the forefront of it should be the controllers becoming very supportive, being part of the decision making. And so, of course, it behoves on the executive team or whoever the founder is at the CEO level to invite the controller to the table at the beginning of those decisions so that they get the buy-in of the controllers and so that everybody is, there, everyone is working in tandem, in sync. And so that instead of the controller now seeing themselves as those ones that pick up the errors when the deal is already done, they actually have an understanding of what deals need to be done, how revenues need to be created, and what steps need to be taken for revenues to be made, even in a recovery era. That way, everyone is working in tandem, everyone is working in sync, and it really does not preclude the controller from performing his role of controlling and ensuring that regulatory compliance is in place, but it just means that the controller becomes a partner, a supporting partner, a business developer who is actually coordinating and making all of this work so that the organization can now begin not only to recover, but at least in the shortest possible time, the organization begins to thrive. And in a fully recovered state. So these are my thoughts on this.
Great. Thanks for sharing. So I guess kind of following up on that a little bit. So would you say that controllers play an important part of business development in organizations?
Yeah, certainly. I would say that I mean before now the regular thing that you would see, like I mentioned earlier, is that that traditional role, of the controller is what you would see to date. But
Mm-hmm.
as a business developer, then what it means then is that controllers as big businesses reopen, then the controllership function will be heightened. For instance, the organizations that seemed to have thrived or that evidently have thrived during the pandemic thrived more because we found from research and then of course from observation that most of the executives on the business side and even on the operation side, had their roles clearly, of course, they had their roles clearly delineated, but then they were all brought to the table. And it was the norm to see everybody working together, like I mentioned earlier. In that case, then the controller can actually be seen as a business developer. They can actually be a part of the business development process because they are now making decisions together at the table, not in a situation where you have policies, new ideas, new innovation of products or services being created, and then at the end of the day, the controller, the audit, and so on, or people working from the back office controlling the systems, and so and the processes are then they get wind of this because they know that the policy is coming up, and then they begin to prepare the processes and the documents to ensure that there will be no breaches and so on and so on, which is actually the after effect of new things being done. But when the controller is brought around the table at the beginning of, at the initiation, at the initial stage when a product is to be rolled out, a service is to be rolled out, at that point, we believe the controller has become more of a person at the table where business is being developed, not just after the business has been rolled out or the product or the service is now being rolled out. And so this is actually how we believe a controller can actually be in business development, because it just means that they are the forefront of it all.
Mm-hmm.
They are the decision table when the products are being created, or at least when the presentations are being made. They can actually see through the errors. They can actually see or catch immediately the gaps in any new service that is being rolled out or in a new product, and they can actually make their own, opinion. They can actually share their insights on that, and that way is a more effective way of actually rolling out products, rolling out services in this new era. And that way also, everybody, all heads coming together at that table, thinking together as one team, then helps an organization to forge ahead even beyond, the crisis and the after effects of all of the pandemic that we have seen so far.
Great. Just a quick little follow-up question on that topic. Do you think it'll stay that way, where controllers continue to be a part of business development, or do you think it'll go back to the older ways?
I think, I mean, to my mind, it's, generally speaking, it's not the norm to see controllers as, as strategic to the formation of any executive management decision, except when they are really occupying very senior roles. So that's actually been the experience so far in most of the organizations that I have worked. I mean, it's regular to request information on headcount, from a controller. They'll most likely be excluded from those very important meetings involving organization strategy and restructuring initiatives of business growth and things like that. They would normally apply like 70% of their time to the traditional roles of checking out books and checking out errors and so on. Now, with some of the new initiatives, particularly for some of the clients that we've had to manage in the last couple of months or perhaps during the pandemic, we've seen that most executive management members are invited to the table. Once a product is initiated, once a new unit has an idea about how to do it right, what services should be put into the market, how they believe the services will be of solution to the potential clients, they invite the controller immediately. He's called to the table. What do you think about this? How do we cut the errors? Do you think we would have problems with this? What about the regulatory requirements? How do you think we can meet this regulatory requirements, and so on? So those are the things that we begin to see. So those are the roles, the additional roles that we see controllers taking outside of their regular traditional roles of being the watchdog, or being there as a gatekeeper and things like that. And I believe that a more effective way for those in the senior leadership or executive management of most of the organizations that we're working with, we're seeing a shift where they begin to say even executives in control function, in controllership function, for instance, executives in audit function, internal controls, audit functions, and those ones that are in compliance. All of them are now being invited to the decision-making table. Of course, it doesn't mean that they are not decision makers. Do not get me wrong. Decision making as part business development. So they're invited when presentations are being made now, because it's usually better for everyone to be notified, and so that people can actually quickly see through gaps, find solutions, and find samples where they're building scenarios. So at that stage where you have scenario planning, sensitivity analysis, and so on, you have the controllers at the table being carefully, analyzing some of the products, and then actually being at the forefront of it, so that it's no longer news to them, and so that they can actually, catch any breaches or any potential breaches to such. And I believe that as the market reopens, it will be a more effective way of actually conducting product rollouts, service rollout, and even execution and implementation of new products too. We believe it will be a more effective way, because it's now seen that everybody working together helps you get better results.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Yeah, like I think a lot of, before the pandemic, a lot of people were kind of just, stuck maybe in their specific roles and not collaborating. But now it's kind of forced everyone to, really work closely together. So yeah, it's definitely a great point. So yeah, just jumping into my next question here. What are your thoughts about divesting newly underperforming businesses?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think, thank you for that question. I think it was at one of our meetings that I think I made the statement that the market is more forgiving, the market is
Hmm.
more accepting of errors. Now, of course, there are
Yeah.
always
Hmm.
consequences of errors and things like that, but this is the time where, it's not that anything goes, it's just that a lot of things have already gone wrong, right? So you had better just make everything right as much as you can. And so this will be my opinion that, I mean, for underperforming assets in the books, this is actually the time to get the books cleaned up,
Hmm.
because after all, from the statistics, we hear almost 125,000 businesses have already shut down. So if you're still standing as a business, and if you're still in operations, this is the time to actually clean up your books and make sure that underperforming businesses are either written off the books, or make provision, the right provisioning for such losses in the books. And if there are opportunities to sell off some businesses, this will be the time to do so. And I believe that a lot of executives in controllership positions would actually have made a list, taking note to make a list of such, they normally would have a schedule of such assets or non-performing businesses or underperforming businesses.
Hmm.
And I believe that not only would provisioning be made, meaning that they're just creating, some buffer in their books to accommodate losses arising from such assets or businesses, but they will also be on the lookout. Now, there is another role, which is a business executive, a business development executive, or some vice president in charge of sales and marketing and expansion and so on. Each organization has an executive designated for such duties, so they would actually have. They would be aware, definitely. They will have to schedule their monitoring and all of that. But it will be perhaps the controller's role to call the attention of the management to the timing of such of either disposing of such businesses or actually maximizing the opportunity present in the market at this time, where they're able to actually sell off those businesses for whatever it's worth. For some of them,
Hmm.
it will be huge losses. For some of them, perhaps there will still be some organizations that still find some benefit in the assets, the equipment, or whatever it is that those small businesses are carrying, or large businesses, whatever they are. But it is the controller's role actually to insist on why it might be beneficial for the organization to dispose of such, assets in the books right now, whether they are assets, whether they are underperforming businesses or branches or whatever locations they are. And keep in mind also that a lot of businesses are going digital at this point. And so, not only digital in operations, going virtual in operations, working remotely from different parts. And so we are familiar also with the fact that a lot of organizations, large groups, are no longer focusing on, yes, they still have their hardcore assets and the buildings where they operate from, the branch locations internationally or even nationally. But a lot of them are also looking to divest from, the hardcore assets of locations that they keep right now, so that they actually trim that down as a way of recouping, so just recouping some revenues, so because that way you're able to save costs, and that automatically dovetails into additional revenue from the organization. When you save cost on leases or purchases of branches, hardcore assets in terms of real estate. That's what I mean by that. And so this is the time for the controllers to make such suggestions.
Great. Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing. So the next question here, I guess, which is somewhat related, how can controllers encourage a buildup of financial resources needed for an upturn?
Okay. Yeah. As you might be aware, there have been a lot of uh, palliatives and
Yeah.
support, you just capital supporting
Hmm.
a lot of businesses in this particular period. And for a lot of groups, I believe a lot of them have actually, a lot of organizations have actually availed themselves of such facilities, the CBA loans, the SUIs, and the SERB, CRB, and the
Yeah.
CEWS, whether it's SUS or QS, So we have a lot of those things, and this is outside of the regular traditional banking facilities from the
Hmm.
lines of credit and so on. And so, again, like I said earlier, the market is actually more open and a little more flexible because everybody, it's been a pandemic in the last couple of months, the last 15 months. So people come in for additional facilities, whether they're large size loans, depending on what the balance sheet can actually take, is welcome. A lot of banks, I'm not saying, of course, it's automatic that they will just avail the facilities, but the opportunities are immense. The
Hmm.
government has released in billions, more than, in loads of billions. We understand from the BDC, which is a crown corporation of the government, is availed lots of capital to large sized businesses and even to small, medium sized organizations. So all of these loans are available. Of course, whilst one is not suggesting that controllers go ahead, or that the executive in charge, the CFO, goes ahead to, go on a long, on a long drive of acquiring capital, and that is not required. What one is saying and suggesting then is that, having identified some potential opportunities, if you remember the acquisition list I mentioned earlier, maybe you're looking to acquire some, some viable projects, viable businesses that would actually enhance and possibly improve the current businesses you run. This will be the time to acquire some facilities, acquire some loans, acquire some facilities, and the cost is low right now. As you know, it's low right now, the
Yeah.
2s, the 3%, and so this is the time to actually acquire some, even if they're not going to be dispersed right away. But this will be a very good time to actually secure some transaction and build up some, in quotes, war chest. When I say what, where meaning war chest meaning you can actually have some capital available to you to
Yeah.
go back into the market, and when there's a need for it, you're able to take up stocks, you're able to take up some new assets, you're able to buy up some new businesses, particularly those ones I talked about earlier. Keep in mind that a few of the retailers are actually out cold and dry right now because they haven't had patronage in the last 12 months, 13 months, and so on. But
Yeah.
it really doesn't mean that those businesses are in themselves not viable, because they were indeed very viable before now. They just didn't have the capital to maintain the number of staff, for instance, employees that they should have had, before now, and they were just badly hit at the wrong time because of the pandemic. But it really doesn't mean that the market is still not out there and that they are not able to do business. A discerning eye would actually go out right now and begin to make a list of such businesses for acquisition, for instance, if you have the capital and if it is relevant to your business, then it might be a good time to do that. So you can imagine what the war chest will do for you in this regard. Instead of two, three branches, as a way of recovering faster, you are possibly looking for expansion, maybe in the next 12 months, maybe in the next 24 months, and you're able to secure a transaction that would, some funding that would actually cover, capital cost of expansion and so on. But in the long run, within the next 24 to 36 months, you already know that you will be breaking even on those in those regards, because not only is the location good, the market is already ready because you have viable clients, and you also have a target market that is willing and ready and able as the market reopens. And this is why this will be for the discerning, discerning executives to begin to position themselves to do that. That's why you need to build a war chest. That's why you need that type of capital to
Yeah.
be able to go into the market to do that.
Great. Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing. So my next question here, and I know we're just about 7 minutes left, so this will be probably one of the last two questions. So what questions should controllers be asking senior management?
Okay, so what questions should controllers be asking senior management in this season? I believe questions of contingency planning, questions of what if this happens again? What if we have another variant of this? You know what I mean? Yes,
Hmm.
we're
Yeah.
really excited now. The market is reopening. Everybody's excited. We're looking to go into the market and eat it good, and get back our clients. Yeah, I mean, because it's been 14, 15, 16 solid months of staying at home,
Hmm.
working from home, not able, doing curbside pickups and so on for the retailers, the restaurants not being able to open and so on. So indeed, everybody is excited. We want to get out there and do business. Let's just get it done. And this is what I see and this is what I hear. Let's get it done. Let's keep moving and all of that. But for senior executives and for people who have decision making authority and for the organization, they should be asking the what if questions. What if there's a recurrence, or what if there's another variant, or what if something like this happens again in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, in the next 12 years? Because we never envisage this, and
Hmm.
that's why those questions should be asked. That's number one. Two, what is the contingency planning? What do we have in place if this happens? Now we've seen the sound, we've experienced this. I mean, we were all in it together, the pandemic, and we've seen how things flowed one from the other, how people pivoted their businesses, how people rolled out new products within 2 months, 3 months just to survive. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So we've seen all of this, but now is the time to actually begin a robust contingency planning where you are creating the what if scenarios. You're creating the what if scenarios. You're creating options and alternatives to where can I operate from if this happens? Where can I actually keep a particular number of people, team members, working together. What will I do if there's if this happens again, and we're not able to address it? I mean, it may not be the COVID-19 pandemic, but we're talking about emergency situations, crisis situations.
Hmm.
Proper contingency planning needs to be in place, and senior executive team members need to begin to work on this. Another thing, another question to my mind would be questions of staffing. You know, what do we need? Who do we keep? How do we keep them? And in what situation, what location? A lot of people are looking to work remotely right now. It wasn't this popular before now. Yes, it was there, but it wasn't like full remote work, remote working. You know, how do you manage this? How do we do it? And how do we make life easier and more comfortable and work convenient? How do we make working more convenient for our employees? Because the more comfortable they are, the more work they will do. I found in our own case as an owner of business that we were able to get more from our team members because even up till 7 o'clock, sometimes 8 o'clock, we're receiving emails now. And these were people that once they closed from work at 5, you didn't hear from them until the next morning. But
Hmm.
now we see that people are willing to go I'm not sure if it's that they want to go the extra mile or that because working at home, the things that concern you normally, you're in your comfort zone, if you get what I mean. So
Yeah.
I think that people are willing to do a little more. So, as discerning employers of business, discerning owners or senior executives, who manage and watch the back end of things to make sure everything works seamlessly. What should we really be watching out for? How should we treat such employees? How should we make life more comfortable? And for the senior executives, what do we gain? Have we done a cost benefit analysis? Should we be doing a cost benefit analysis of people working remotely, virtually, versus working from the office? Or should it be a combination of the hybrid? Or should it be a combination of a few days at work, a few days at home, and things like that? And what qualifications should we have as senior members of the executive? A lot of us were not techie savvy at all. We were not conversant with a host of things happening in the digital platform.
Yeah.
So senior executives need to begin to ask themselves the question. We don't necessarily have to go to school to do that. A lot of short courses are available. Are people going for the training they require? Are people able to engage with people offline, meaning online rather, online digitally? And engage with clients digitally. What does it mean to hold meetings, trade shows, interact internationally, transact and conclude business deals internationally, online, digitally, without needing to travel and get on the plane? And what kind of cost saving measures would we actually have even from this? These are some of the things that senior executives, including the controllership team, these are some of the things I think they should be looking at, the questions they should be asking, particularly as it relates to the cost saving measures, because it's a recovery period. If we've been able to survive for 12, 15 months without traveling, all those senior executive travels and so on, it means that it might be a good way of actually saving some future costs as an
Hmm.
organization. And I think these are some of the things that we should be looking at.
Awesome, great. That was a really great answer. Well, thank you, Olutoyin. I know we just have about a minute left here, and I do see a question in chat from Aorend Banjoko, and apologies if I pronounced your name wrong. But I was wondering if we could just maybe do the top three really quick for this question here, if
Okay.
that's all right with you. So
Yeah.
they ask, what type of skills would you suggest controllers should possess in order to be effective in participating in business recovery? Maybe if you
Yeah.
just want to give a really quick, I guess, top three or something.
Yeah. I think, to my mind, it will be that skill to actually innovate, be innovative. These are traditional people that have always done it a certain way, and
Hmm.
the focus is always on compliance control, and so on. Now here is the time to be more innovative in terms of get some additional training, be techie savvy, be willing to listen, and keep an mind. Keep an open mind. Be the bridge. Be the bridge, not the one who blocks everything. Because of course it's important to
Hmm.
comply. It's important to meet regulatory requirements, as you're known to do as traditional controllers. However, this is the time to keep an open mind, learn to come into the meeting and listen a little more, understand exactly where they're coming from, the business growth, because I belong to the business side of the divide. I'm not a controller, but what I see half of the time is, if you have a role as the gatekeeper, as the watchdog or the policeman, because you really need to comply with the rules because it's your role and it has to be done, then you need to come and listen to all sides and hear what they are saying, and then think outside the box to see how it can be done within the regulatory requirement without stopping the deal. The goal should not be, let's stop this, it won't work. The goal should be, how can we make it work because we're in a
Hmm.
recovery? How can we make it work because we're in a recovery? The skill for that is actually to listen more and put ourselves in the shoe of the people speaking so that decisions are made, informed decisions are made.
Awesome. Great. That was a really great answer. Well, thanks again for speaking with me today, Olutoyin. Yeah, so unfortunately we are out of time here, but yeah, as you mentioned earlier, there is a recording available, so I can certainly send a copy to you. And if anyone in chat or anyone watching would like a copy as well, certainly reach out to myself or Olutoyin, and we'd be happy to provide that. But thank you again. It was really nice talking with you.
Hey, nice talking to you again, Alex. I'll see you again soon.
For sure. Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye.